Hello, you're listening to Mike Madden on the Art Show podcast. Here you'll find interviews with authors, musicians, artists and anyone else in and around the arts. Some of the interviews are taken direct from the Art Show on Expat Radio, with one or two specials in between. This show features rock legend Steve Harley talking about his latest album, Uncovered, and we get a sneak preview of a couple of the tracks, including his latest single, I've Just Seen a Face. Good evening, this is Mike Madden on the Art Show on Expat Radio, and tonight I've got on the show somebody who must be described as rock royalty. So welcome to the show, Steve Harley.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, you've got a new album out in March called Uncovered, and it's a very unusual album in that it's actually a celebration of songs by others rather than your own, although you are on it as well.
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
Yeah, but people like Bowie and David, Bob Dylan, Cat Stevens, Paul McCartney, you must have had to do some agonising over what to include and what to leave out.
Oh, right, yeah, well, do you know, I didn't really, because these are all songs, they're works of art. Every one of them is a truly great song, especially even things like people are surprised that I've sung A Hot Chocolate, but Errol Brown wrote a fantastic story. It's a real narrative called Emma. You remember the big hit by Hot Chocolate?
Yeah.
And it's a lovely, really special piece of writing, a tragic story, but a great narrative. And they're all songs that I've sung at home privately with my, when I'm practicing the guitar or whatever. I'll pick a guitar up while I'm watching Match of the Day and start playing, and I tend to play other people's songs. And it's this bunch of songs, mostly, that I was playing. There's a Bowie, as you said, Absolute Beginners, and I sang that on tour with Mike Garson, his piano player, a couple of years ago. And it just got right to me, the song. It's a very special, one of Bowie's best moments, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
These are all my interpretations. I don't of their great work.
Yeah, there's also one by the Rolling Stones as well, and I know that you met them way back in the 60s.
Yeah. Oh, I've met them since then. I've toured with them. Mick asked for me. We opened for the Stones in Warsaw and St. Petersburg a few years ago, and I'd never told him or Keith about, how they met. They came into this hospital ward in 1963. I was 12, and they were on a goodwill mission just before Christmas. And I've never said to them, we met in 63 when I was 12. I've never done it. I've met Mick and I've met Keith quite a lot of times, but you just don't do that. Let it go, let it go. Distant memories.
Yeah, indeed.
But that song of theirs that I've done, Out of Time, is again a really clever lyric, and it was such a great record by Chris Farlow. Massive hit, as you know. But, it's just, I wanted a nod to Keith and Mick. I wanted to give them a nod and, thanks for the music, guys, and here's my interpretation of one of your best songs. That's all it is. Yeah.
It's a great idea, and I'm sure some of our listeners might be able to put their own compilations together of great songs. But what do you think, from your perspective, what brings all these great songwriters together? Some of the guys, they're guys that I know. I mean, the thing is, interestingly, there's 9, as I said. 2 of them are mine and 9 are other people's. And I'm sending my version, my interpretation, we've been sending them to the writers. And I knew Cat Stevens way back, and things like Teaser and the Firecat, that his song I've covered comes from How Can I Tell You? And I sent it to him, Yusuf, and he wrote back immediately with the kindest words. And I mean, I'm sending them to the writers, but I'm not asking what they think. I'm not tempting fate. I'm not saying, hey, I hope you like it. I'm not doing that. We're just sending it and saying, Steve wanted you to have this. And, Yusuf wrote and said, such a nice piece. I won't quote it because it's private and personal, but one line that he says I've got permission to pass on is, he said to me, you got to the center, and that's all a singer ever wants to do. You offer, when Paul Anka gave Frank Sinatra My Way, and they made the record, he must have thought, it got to the center.
Yeah.
You know, the heart of it. It couldn't go any deeper.
Yeah.
And it meant the world to me.
It's a great phrase, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it meant a lot, and I thanked him profusely for that.
Now, as you mentioned, you've included some of your own songs on there as well, including "Only You," which you've played for many years, but you've only now decided to record it. So what was that?
I haven't sung it many times on stage. I wrote it about 20 years ago. We sang it on one acoustic tour. It's very rarely aired, but I'd never recorded it, no. And my engineer, when I was doing these other people's songs, Matt Butler, my favourite engineer, Matt said, well, you know, that Only You is as good as any of these songs. I said, Matt, I'm not sure about that, you know, no false modesty. And he said, let's record it, why don't we? And these wonderful players, I mean, I was in there with Martin Simpson on guitar, for heaven's sakes. He's a legend and one of the very, very best.
Yeah.
2 jazz musicians and Barry Wickens from my band, the top-notch players. And I sang it to them on the guitar, that one song, Only You, one day. And, we started to record it, and it comes out as another piece of magic. A lot of good things happened down there, Mike. We were 10 days, Matt and I, at Rockfield. It's a residential studio in Monmouth.
Yeah.
And, some magic was happening. It goes like that in an artist's life. You know, I'd say artist with a small A. In the musician's life.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't want to be pretentious. But it goes in that like that. You go years and years recording or creating rather mediocre stuff, perhaps. You can't help it. You think it's wonderful at the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're struggling. And then suddenly something. It was the people, you know, these were guys I'd never met before. I just loved their playing.
Yeah.
And they came to stay for a week, 10 days in a room, you know, they're beautiful rooms. It's a wonderful place. But we had breakfast together, and then after 8 hours of work, I had a chef come in every night, and we had dinner together. And, you know, you've got to get along with people. And you're working with them, you're living with them. It's a strange old life. And something magical happened, partly because they are all top-notch, very skillful players, very obviously relaxed because they must know how good they are. And apart from that, they're just nice people. I like nice people. I don't let any of the bad guys come away with me. If anyone comes on tour with us that we've never met and he's a tiny bit grumpy, carrying baggage, they're gone.
Right.
Yeah, because it reflects on me.
Yeah.
know? No one says, John Smith, that roadie, was a real drag. They say Steve Harley's crew were hard to work with.
Yeah,
well, I'm not having that. That's reflecting on me, and I won't have it. It's out of here. Life's too short, mate. We're on the road all the time. We don't want anybody that's lazy or miserable. You just drop them by the wayside.
Yeah, you're living in each other's pockets, aren't you, for quite a long time? So you've got to be able to get on.
Yeah, on the road you are. We travel in a sleeper bus or a splitter bus. I'm usually with them, not always. I'm often on my own with my assistant because I have to get to places that they don't go to for interviews and stuff like that. Yeah, but you backstage, the minute you're in that venue, you're a family on the road. And you really do have to try. We all get along anyway because, as I said, we don't have the bad guys.
Now, one of the songs that's of particular interest to me is one with a duet with Eddie Reader. Now, many people will know Eddie from Fairground Attraction, but there is so much more to her repertoire than that.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that they used to call her Elvis's daughter?
No.
It stems from when her father used to sing Elvis songs in the pubs and bars where he used to work, and when she followed on behind him, they called her Elvis's daughter. No,
I didn't know that story about her. She's a real honey. She's a gem of a person. Like I was saying about good people, I've been a fan forever. She forget Fairground Attraction. Her interpretations of Robbie Burns' poetry, all of her roots work is superb, and she also plays with top-notch roots musicians, folk musicians. And my wife and I went to see Eddie and her band last spring on tour in Stamford in Lincolnshire, about an hour and a half's drive from where I live. And she knew I was there, and we agreed we should meet afterwards, and we went backstage. And she was just great people. She had a wonderful personality, a lovely, welcoming host. And, you know, a month later, I told her all about Star of Belle Isle, which is a traditional song from Canada, from Newfoundland. And I knew the song well for the last 35 years, 40 years. But I always also knew from a folk aficionado that 2 verses were missing from every version you ever hear. And I tracked them down. It took me months of research, and I finally tracked them down and found a very elderly Scottish gentleman in a pub in Scotland singing Belle Isle, Star of Belle Isle, with these 2 extra verses. And it was a phenomenal experience to finally, crack, he's doing it, I've got them. And I wrote them down word by word by word, you know, and sent them to Eddie and said, here's my record. Can I come up and record? Will you do a duet with me singing the woman's part? And she's an immediate, yeah, absolutely. And 2 weeks later, I'd been and gone, went up to Scotland, went up to Glasgow, made this duet with her. I'm so proud that to have someone of her caliber share a song with me, it's very humbling.
Well, we're going to a break now, so I think it's quite appropriate that we're going to play Steve Harley and Eddie Reader, and this is Star of Belle Isle.
One evening for pleasure I rambled to view the fair fields all alone, down by the banks of Loch Erin, where beauty and pleasure were known. I spied a fair maid at her labour, which caused me to stay for a while, and I thought her a goddess of beauty, the blooming bright star of Belle Isle. I humbled myself to her beauty. Fair maiden, where do you belong? Are you from heaven descended, abiding in Cupid's fair throng?
Young man, I will tell you a secret. It's true, I'm a maid that is poor, and to part from my vows and my promise is more than my heart can endure. Therefore I'll remain at my service, go through all my hardship and toil, and wait for the lad that has left me all alone on the banks of Belle Isle.
Young maiden, I wish not to banter. 'Tis true I've come here in disguise. I came here to fulfill our last promise and hoped to give you a surprise. I own you're a maid I love dearly, and you've been in my heart all the while. And for me there is no other damsel than my blooming bright star of Belle Isle. And when this young couple unmarried walk through this life hand in hand, may the great God in heaven protect them and bring them all peace in the land. May the great God in heaven protect them, loyalty be theirs all the while, and soft honey will sweeten the comforts of the blooming bright star of Belle Isle.
Expat Digital Radio, online 24/7.
Hello, this is Mike Madden on The Art Show. That was Star of Belle Isle, Steve Harley and Eddie Reader, and I'm delighted to welcome back to the show Steve Harley.
Hi, Mike. Yeah, isn't that great?
Fantastic.
Wow, she's a beautiful singer. Yeah.
Now, this Uncovered, the latest album of yours, is described as being completely organic. Just explain what that means.
Well, it's a funny old word overused these days. Of course it is, but it might be the first album you of any of your listeners will ever have heard if they buy it. On which there is no EQ. It's phenomenal. There is no EQ. We didn't touch a knob. We didn't go through one outboard piece of equipment. I was in the best studio money can buy, with the best Pro Tools recording equipment that money can buy, with the best musicians I could find, and amongst the best of all, with the best instruments. You can imagine the quality of guitars we all use, and and so it's guitars, double bass, violin, and viola. And I just said to the engineer, he said, "How do you want it to feel? What are we looking for?" And I said, "Well, here we are. We're just men, women with instruments and voices. Mic us up. Don't touch a knob. No meddling." And he just said, "Fantastic." It was like a challenge for him.
Yeah.
And, we're there with tens of thousands of pounds worth of outboard equipment, of effects, basically.
Yeah.
And you've got a mixing desk with 60 channels of knobs. And I wouldn't let him touch a knob. Don't twist that knob. Don't add, don't detract, don't do anything, don't modify. So there's no EQ, and it might be the first record anyone's ever heard. And the reason is, Matt Butler, the engineer, Matt is so skillful, and I knew he could do it. He's so skillful and experienced. I mean, he trained with Jeff Emerick, the Beatles engineer. So he trained with his acolyte of Jeff's. What Jeff didn't know wasn't worth knowing. And Matt is so skillful, he mic'd everything up, all these acoustic instruments. It takes a bit of doing, I tell you. No leads. No one had a lead. And it sounds good enough to eat, doesn't it? I mean, to be honest, it's not me speaking of my own work, but the engineer, God bless him, did this amazing job. I'm very, very, very proud of it.
Well, you might be sort of a bit of false modesty there, because your own part involved recording 11 vocal tracks in a day and a half, which is it's a great effort in terms of stamina, but also maintaining the quality of your voice over that period of time.
It was actually 12. There's one we left off the album. I sang the lead voice on 12 songs in one day, and about 3 hours the next day. Well, I tell you what, you've got to remember, Mike. These are songs that I've lived with for a very, very long time. These are songs I sing at home. When the guitar's in the corner, I pick it up to have a strum, because they're such beautiful things. You have to touch acoustic guitars. Yeah, they're very tactile. And I'd be singing "I've Just Seen a Face," or the Long Pigs song "Lost Myself," which is a magic piece of writing. The good Cat Stevens, "How Can I Tell You?" They're songs I sing at home forever, for 30 years, some of them. So when I went in and recorded them this way, to sing them, it wasn't like a new song that I had to learn the inflection, learn some phrasing, do it again, can I do that line again, drop me in for this line, drop me in for that word. It was, he put the mic in front of my face. I was really up close. I said, I want them to hear the spittle in my mouth. I want them to hear every K, P, D, but every consonant in my voice. I want it to be, and I said to him, essentially, I want them to put this on at home and say, "Crikey, that's odd. It's like Steve's in my living room." Like as though we're playing acoustic music in your living room. If we come to your living room and play with no microphones, yeah? You're getting organic music, aren't you? It's natural. Well, that's how I've made this album. I hope it gets through to people. The voice is like 3D.
It's a great concept, and music has probably need this kind of simplification for quite a long time. But of course, you're no stranger to acoustic anyway, because with going way back with Cockney Rebel, They were essentially an acoustic band, and it must be great thinking back to that time when you've got a song that if anybody hears the first 3 bars, they know what it is and that it's you.
I think I know where you're going here. It's an odd thing. I was reminded by my wife. She was listening to me doing some interviews on an ISDN line in the studio the other day, and she was with me, and she heard me telling some anecdote, and then she said afterwards, you should tell them about this. And she reminded me of 2 years ago, she and I were in Montenegro on a sort of a week's, just a short vacation. And we were in a taxi coming back from a restaurant. We'd been out to dinner, and we were taxiing back to our hotel. And a few minutes from the hotel, what came on his radio? Dum, 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 dum. So we look at each other, and hey, it's no big thing. We hear it all the time around the world. So, it's not going to make me jump for joy and everything. When a new one is played on the radio, I'm thrilled to bits. So he started thumping his steering wheel to dance, and he was singing along in perfect English in his strange accent, and knew every word. He was really excited by this. And she said to me, Dorothy said, "Are you going to tell him?" And I said, I don't think so. It's not my style. He might blank me. So we got out. As it was fading, we pulled up at the lobby entrance to the hotel, and I got out, he put the window down, the passenger window, and I was getting my euros out for him to pay him, and I was looking right in his eyes, and I said, "Good record, that." And he said, "It's the best record ever made." I said, "Is it? Why is that?" He said, "Oh, you can't stop. You have to dance. You have to sing. I had it played at my wedding. I've had it played at my birthday, my anniversaries. It's the best record ever made. I'll have it played at my funeral." And she's behind me, Dorothy, and just on my shoulder, and she's saying, "Tell him. It will make his year. Tell him." And I didn't.
Oh.
I walked away. I smiled at him and said, "Well, I'm with you, Buster," and gave him a little tip. But I couldn't...
If there's a taxi driver in Montenegro listening to this show, you know what...
Yeah.
You know what we're talking about.
Honestly, it's the absolute truth. And I don't know, I told Tony Blackburn, he said to me recently on an interview, he said, "Do you hear it in strange places?" And I told him that story. It's the only time I've ever really told it in public. And I told him I didn't, and he just said live on air, he said, "You didn't tell him?" I said, "Well, no, do you think I should?" And he's going, "Of course you should. You'd have made his life. What are you talking about?" Oh, I'll know in future. Okay.
No regrets. There's another great story in 2015 when it had a bit of a revival, when the Top Gear presenters urged viewers to download it after you received a speeding fine. Which...
They couldn't believe I was doing 70 miles an hour on a motorway. But apparently there was a 40 sign that had been temporarily stuck up on the M25.
Right.
And we're both experienced drivers, and neither of us saw it. And so I'm whizzing through, and then they fined me £1,000 as well.
Jeez.
It's because it's means tested these days. The more you got, the more they charge you. And and the Top Gear, that was funny, wasn't it? I mean, I didn't see it live, but I was turned on to it and did see it. And I wrote to Clarkson and said, happy to, it's just wonderful that they all downloaded it. It went straight into the top 10 again.
Yeah. Brilliant. But of course, it's been covered countless times and it's been in films, but... we know that you're no one-hit wonder with tracks like Sebastian and Here Comes the Sun and Judy T, etc.
Thank you.
But your sort of more modern career, you've done lots of work for charity, and you've won lots of awards as well, including the Gold Badge of Merit in 2002, but more recently the Lifetime Achievement Award for acoustic music.
That was very touching. I could barely believe it. They give this award to really roots specialists, roots music specialists, and I'm not that. But, it was very, very touching. I mean, I played about an hour and a quarter. It was a festival. an acoustic music festival, and on the bill over the weekend was some real big names in that world. And I was a bit embarrassed to receive what really they should have, and yet afterwards, half a dozen of these really big names in the folk and roots world came to seek me out in my cabin, my porter cabin dressing room, to congratulate me. I was just very moved. It was a big surprise.
Well, it's well deserved in my view, and long may these awards continue. But
well, thank you.
Other achievements in your career are including you've been a radio presenter and you've starred on stage in West End and Broadway. So, what lies ahead for Steve Harley?
No, only music. No more stage. No more treading the boards. No. When I played in the West End a few years ago, it was a two-hander. A Samuel Beckett play, and it was a precursor to Waiting for Godot. So it was very much Waiting for Godot, very much, and just two of us, so you're never off the stage for an hour and a half. All dialogue, and I learnt it all before the rehearsals, and so around my house for 6 weeks while I learnt it, the dialogue, oh man, all my wife heard me say for 6 weeks was, never again, never again, never again. It's a stress, all that, learning those lines. And it's not really my world. I've been there. I've played Sam Beckett, whom I adore. He's an idol of mine in the literary world. And to have played his play, to have read those words, which are like music themselves, is a big box ticked for me, I have to say. But I don't think... I love my work so much touring. The thing with theatre is you're in the same dressing room for 6 days a week, for 8 performances, and I'm a wandering minstrel, Mike. We're used to, I've been doing this for 47 years, we're used to meeting up in the lobby, getting on a tour bus, going to another town, going to another backstage, doing another sound check. We're used to that, all of us who do this, and it's a great life. If you travel well and stay in good places, which we do, of course we do.
I don't know what that is.
It's the front door of my office, which I've never opened in
It's a ring, isn't it?
I've got someone there, it's all right. I've got my assistant, she's there, she's got it.
All right.
He's on the CCTV, whoever it is, no idea. Although I am expecting a delivery of about 100 sets of guitar strings. It might be that with a bit of luck.
Right.
We go through them. We buy them industrial packs,
Yeah.
Yeah, I go through them.
Well, you mentioned touring, and you are about to embark on a tour, or you may already be in the middle of it.
No, we start rehearsals next week.
Right.
We start the first night. It's a massive coincidence. I told you something special was happening in the studio. It's still going on with this record. It's just pure coincidence or serendipity that it's being released on February 21st. This is the very first day of the tour. I don't know how. Absolute coincidence. We start that day in Harrogate.
Yeah.
Are you in France?
No. The station's actually based out there. I'm actually in the Peak District.
Oh, great. Where are you?
Whaley Bridge.
Oh, smashing.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous part of the world. You probably saw it on the news in the summer.
Whaley Bridge particularly?
Yeah, when the dam almost broke.
Oh, yeah. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
No, we were in Buxton not long ago at the Opera House.
Oh, right, yeah, of course,
with my rock band, and we're coming back. We've just made a new date at Buxton, but this time with my acoustic tour, and we're playing in the Pavilion. Right.
Oh, brilliant.
Which is kind of beautiful.
Yeah, and it's got interesting acoustics there. I don't know if you've been into the Pavilion.
Well, I wouldn't want to put a drum kit in there.
No, indeed.
We'll do it with just acoustic strings,
Yeah. So I do notice that you are playing a date in Sale in April, and that is where I was brought up. So my mother still lives there.
I could hear the Manchester in your voice.
Yeah. So I will certainly do everything I can to get along to that one.
Oh, right. Well, you'll be lucky. It sold out yesterday.
Did it? Oh.
No, go on. We've held a few back. I'm sure we'll get you in. Don't worry. We'll organise something. But it has sold out. I don't know how many we've held back. Maybe 4 or 6 tickets. I don't know.
Right.
But we'll look after you.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Well, it's been absolutely wonderful speaking to you, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, totally my pleasure. I've enjoyed it, my friend. And hello, expats everywhere.
Yes, all around the world.
Especially in Montenegro, if you know the man who thinks Make Me Smile is the finest record ever made, tell him I'm saying hello. Finally.
So go to Steve's website at steveharley.com. And look out for his new album Uncovered, which is released on the 21st of February. And his single, which we're going to play out with now. This is Steve Harley and I've Just Seen a Face.
I've just seen her face, I can't forget the time or place where we just met. She's just the girl for me, and I want all the world to see we've met. Oh, had it been another day, I might have looked the other way, and I'd have never been aware. But as it is, I'll dream of her tonight. La da 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 da. Falling, yeah, I am falling, and she keeps calling me back again. I have never known the likes of this. I've been alone and I have missed things and kept out of sight, but other girls were never quite like this. La da 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 da. Falling, yeah, I am falling, and she keeps calling me back again. Kick on. I've just seen her face, I can't forget the time or place where we just met. She's just the girl for me, I want all the world to see we've met. La da 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 da. Had it been another day, I might have looked the other way, and I'd have never been aware. But as it is, I'll dream of her tonight. La da 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 da. Falling, yes, I am falling, and she keeps calling me back again. Falling, yes, I am falling, and she keeps calling me back again.
You've been listening to the Arts Show podcast with Mike Madden. Come back soon for more artists, authors, musicians and anyone else connected with the arts. We're going to play out with Mike Sanchez and I Don't Stand a Chance.
Baby, you hiding something that you don't want me to know, because I'm getting a vibe from way down the side, like you're just about ready to go. Can't tell me where you stayed last night. You just can't cope with treating me right. I'm on the road to heartbreak. Now's the time to tell me so, because I'm getting a chill like I'm gonna be ill. I know you don't want me no more. I won't be satisfied with your little white lies. Girl, I've only just begun to realize I don't stand a chance. I don't stand a chance. You don't wanna know when I can't make you dance. Well, I said goodbye. Find yourself another guy. I wish you were mine, but I'm losing my mind. I don't stand a chance. With my poor heart in your hands, I gonna tell me so. Because I'm getting a chill like I'm gonna be here. I know you don't want me no more. I won't be satisfied with your little white lies. Girl, I've only just begun to realize I don't stand a chance. No, I don't stand a chance. You don't wanna know when I can't make you dance. Well, I'll say goodbye. Find yourself another guy. I wish you were mine, but I'm losing my mind. I don't stand a chance.